Hey, my name's Nicole Dionisio, but everybody calls me Pickle, and here's my in the bag for infinite discs. Let's start off here with my putters. One of my main go-to putters for off the tee pad and approach is my old school, I've had since day one, SE Rhino. These are the special edition rhinos. This is the Ontario mold. They're the gummier mold, so you can really bend it, and it's a great disc for straight shooter, or you can turn over Annie with it. And like I said, this has been one of my go-to discs since day one back in 2014. Another approach disc for me for putters is my Star XD. These were made way back in like 2001, 2002. I think they were fundraisers for like the Maple Hill tournament is what I've heard. These are really tough to find. They're basically like you find them online for over $100. These is probably one of the most stable approach discs I've ever found. It's basically like an AVR3. I got the AVR3 is close to it, or the AVR3X is pretty close to it, I guess now. But this has this huge lip inside where like it hits the ground and it does not roll away. It just always eats into the ground or the grass or the dirt and it sits there. So this is one of my definitely a go-to approach discs also. And then my two putting putters is the KC Pro AVR and the Infinite Myth. My go-to putter is the KC Pro AVR. I like this just on like just a little hyzer. It holds a nice glide. It's always a true little dump hyzer with it. You can also pop it up on a little Annie putt and know it's going to come back out flat. And then sometimes when I really need to go a little bit straighter, I like to putt with the Myth. This is just a little bit straighter, a little bit less stable than the KC Pro, so I can give it a little bit more like a flatter with the nose down to give it a straight line. Or again, put it on the Annie, and this one usually crashes on an Annie. So if I need to get around a tree, I can really putt with the Myth. I'll go to my mid-ranges. I don't carry too many mid-ranges in my bag. I actually only have 4 mid-range discs. My go-to mid-range, my number one mid-range, is the First Run Meteor, Discraft Meteor. I've had this for a few years now, and this thing is a workhorse in the woods. It just holds a straight line, and it's got a great glide. This is a disc I can throw like 60 to 70% power, and it goes 250 for me. It just has a great glide. You just leave it flat, and it turns a little Annie, and it finishes just slightly. It doesn't really get a big skip or anything, so I feel like the Meteor is one of my favorite mid-ranges. If I need something a little bit longer and I could really give it some muscle, I go to the Rock, the KC Pro Rock. I love these things. This is Jessica Weiss stamp one, actually, that she gave me, and I've had it for a few years now, and this thing, again, this thing's a workhorse for me. You can put it up on an Annie and let it crash. You can leave it flat and it's just gonna glide. You can also flick these. I really like these for flick approaches sometimes. You can really give it an aggressive angle and it's gonna step up flat and it's gonna come back. Another disc I'm working in my bag right now is the Infinite Chariot. I'm definitely liking this. This is more stable than my Meteor, so I can really rip on this about 80-90% and it's gonna hold a really straight line for me, but it's gonna come back. It gets a nice little, always like 10, 20, 30 foot hyzer I like out of it. So this is a really good disc when I just need to get around some trees for like a 200-foot shot. I really go to my Chariot. And then the last mid-range I have in my bag is my Prodigy A2, the 400 plastic. I absolutely love this thing for flick approaches. This thing is a super overstable disc. Anything with 150 feet and in, I am flicking my A2 Prodigy usually. I can just come over on it on a really aggressive line and know it's gonna fight back. And this also has kind of an aggressive lip underneath, so it really likes to dig in and it doesn't skip away too far. You can also throw it backhand on our aggressive Annie line, even into a headwind, and you know it's always gonna fight back and crash. Prodigy A2 is great. I'll move on to my fairway drivers. First I'll go to my number one fairway driver is my Champion Sidewinder. It's a 150 gram Champ Sidewinder. It's a factory second. I've been throwing this for like 3 years now, and this is basically one of my go-to discs. If I lost this, I don't know what I would do without it. I can manipulate this disc to do whatever I want. Backhand Annie, step up hyzer, just leave it flat. And this disc goes about 275 to 280 for me, maybe 300 if I really give it a step up hyzer. But This is hands down one of my go-to discs. I think every woman should start out with a Sidewinder. It's one of the great discs. It's just a nice straight shooter, and it always hyzers out for me. Champ Sidewinder. I'll go to my Eagles. I keep 3 Eagles in my bag at all time. My first one, I'll start out with my flippiest one. It's a CE Eagle. It's the old school Champ Edition one. This is my most flippy one. I always have to hyzer flip this one, or if I want to put this on an Annie and let it go finish onto the Annie left side, this is the disc for that. It's super beat in. I've had it for several years now, and it's a great disc. The old plastic, it seems like they like to glide a little bit better than some of the new plastic. So a lot of the plastic I have is the old school plastic. Then we'll go to my Eagles. I have 2 11-time Eagles. They're twins. This is my Eagle L, 11-time Eagle L. And then Greg Barsby gave me this 11-time Eagle X. So the X version is the more stable one, and I always forehand these. And this is the longer version. It's a longer Firebird with a slight finish. And these I like to use for flick approaches or down the fairway in any trees. And these I like to go about 250 for me to 280. I can really, really muscle it and come over on it on a slight Annie, maybe 10-15 degree angle Annie on it, and it's always going to fight out. And it just holds a straight line, and it always finishes right. The Eagle L is a little bit flippier, so this one I have to always put on maybe like a 10 or 15 degree angle down on the hyzer when I'm flicking. And whenever I flick, I'm always flicking power grip. So I'm a power player, it seems like, so that's the form I like. So with the Eagle L's, I have to step them up a little bit, but this is basically the same disc as this, but it's just, this one will only go about 250, 260 for me, and this one I can definitely make it come over on an Annie if I have to. So it really depends on the shot in the woods, but all 3 Eagles are basically wood shots or approach to the basket. I've also been working my Exodus in my bag too. It's my special edition Cosmic Pickle blend stamp, and this is also a flick approach disc. This one I put on a slight more, maybe about 20 degree, 25 degree angle when I'm approaching, and it's basically just like my Eagles. Same thing, same grip, I love it. Okay, we'll go to, I guess I have one more fairway driver, and it's the Infinite Sphinx. And this is a really flippy disc, but I love it. I can really give it all my might and let it step up, and I know it's going to come up and come on an Annie, and it's like it fights out just at the end usually, so it doesn't get a really big skip. Or I could leave it flat and have it finish out to the right. And I've been working on my backhand roller with this disc. I think this might be the first disc I can get a backhand roller really going with. So I really like working the Infinite Sphinx in my bag. Go to a couple utility discs I guess I have in my bag, I would say. One is the Star Katana. I use this for tomahawks always, whenever I'm in any type of trouble, or I need like maybe a 150-foot approach over like a mound or something where I can't see the basket. I always use the Star Katana. I like the flippier, faster speeds for tomahawks. And I can't thumber, but I can kind of manipulate this to do a thumber or tomahawk. I can put it on any angle and really make it flip around, and I really kind of have that tomahawk dialed in with the Katana. And then I have 2 different other utility discs. I have a max weight Star PD2 from Discmania, and I have a C-Blend PD2 that's a 148. And I use these for complete opposite things. This one is my more stable one, and I use it for flicks. This thing I can only muscle out all my might on a really aggressive angle, and I know it's always going to fight back. Or even in a strong headwind, come over on an Annie, and I know it's going to fight back. But this thing I can probably only muscle out to 250, so I really like it for if I know it's a 250-foot shot or 200-foot shot, and it's out there and I can really just come all the way over on it. It's a great disc. Like, I really like this for coming off the tee pad or approach shots. It sounds crazy, but sometimes you just need to give it a little pop, and it's always going to fight back. And then the lightweight PD2 I do backhand with. I really like this for super skips. I leave it on a low angle usually with the nose down slightly, and I can get a really aggressive skip. So anytime I need to fight around trees or get far left, I always throw my PD2, my lightweight Champ sea line blend, PD2. And I just know, again, I've never flipped any PD2 over at any. These things are some of the most overstable discs I have in my bag, and I know I can just throw it as hard as I can into a headwind, and it's always going to come back left, and even with a skip. So I really like the PD2s. And then, I also have a Firebird, Nate Sexton Firebird. This is, again, approach disc, utility disc, 200 feet, and then I like to flick these. This is, again, I always power flick, and just always aggressive line I can do with these, and I know they're going to fight back. It's a Firebird. And then my last couple discs are my destroyers. I backhand my destroyers. I have a Pro Destroyer that's flippier, and I can step this one up, or I can give it a high pop-up on an ante and let it really flex out high into the wind. This is the one I get probably the most max distance out of. I can probably maybe flick this about 350 to 370 full max power. And then when I really need a stable destroyer, I have my special pickle stick destroyer that Matt Bell and a couple friends made me up at Maple Hill a couple years back, and I can always really fight over on this and know it's going to come back. This is a disc that I flick mainly always into any type of headwind or any wind at all, and this goes about 350 for me. And again, it's a destroyer. People know what destroyers do. They're workhorses. And then my last disc in my bag, it's a Innova Shrike, and this is, I backhand it. It's a 156 Shrike. I like to backhand lighter, flippier stuff, it seems, and I usually flick more power, overweight, stable stuff. The Shrike, though, has added at least 30-40 feet to my backhand. My backhand was definitely the weak part of my game, and since getting the Shrike maybe 1 or 2 years ago, I can easily throw this now 350 backhand. I'm really getting comfortable with it. Got to get a Shrike in it. It's got super strong glide. And I carry the Upper Park bag. I got it from a friend from the Green Mountain Championships a few years back. I think this is one of the greatest bags for women. It fits my back really good, so I really like it. It holds as many discs as I want, and really I can put 3 or 4 more discs in there if I needed to. And then I got my Mini, of course, and it's my Garrett Girthy Sonic Mini that I'm repping, and can't go home without it. I mean, can't leave home without it. And that's everything in my bag. Thanks, you guys.